We will now go to Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act Alliance. David, you have the floor.
Good afternoon. My name is David Lepofsky. I'm speaking as chair of the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act Alliance. I also draw upon my experience for several years as the chair of the Toronto District School Board's Special Education Advisory Committee. Bill 101 is a disaster for students with disabilities and their parents. It does nothing to make things better. It does lots, risking that it will make things worse. Listen to the whole day you've heard today of your only day of hearings. Parents' voice, we're a sideshow. We're a small minority of who was allowed to speak here. Listen to the arguments that were made in support of this bill. Oh, it's all about CEOs and all that kind of stuff. What they were talking about had no relationship with the world we live in. I dare say a parent, a student, or a teacher listening to this would say, are they talking about schools? Like, at all? This is, respectfully, ridiculous. But it gets worse. Premier Ford is known to all of us as the guy who campaigned as the champion to cut red tape and get rid of bureaucracy. Well, this bill injects the greatest load of provincial red tape and bloated bureaucracy in our school system in our lifetimes. Look at the myriad of regulations by the minister, regulations by the cabinet, directives by the minister, guidelines that are binding by the minister, policies by the minister, decisions where you got to get the approval of the minister, or where if the director of education isn't happy with the trustees, they could go to the minister. This is called bureaucracy soup. And the reality of it is, if you pile it all up, the minister was asked today, well, what's it going to cost? And he said, oh, well, it won't cost school boards anything. The reality is, for school boards to figure out what all these rules are, and of course, once they're made, they could be changing, and they don't have to be consulted, figure out what they got to do, and when they got to get permission, and then getting permission, or trying to get permission from the minister. Have you ever tried to get a decision out of a minister's office? I worked in the Ontario Public Service for 33 years. Respectfully, there are times you could die of old age. And it has nothing to do with which of your parties is in power. But everything here is decisions of the minister. Our kids will be graduating before their rights in kindergarten may get decided. And then you got to have a phalanx of bureaucrats in the minister's office to come up with all the forms and then read all the applications from 72 school boards when they need to get directions on all of these things. Because that's what happened when you're trying to have one minister at Queen's Park essentially running the entire system. It's going to be a ton of bureaucracy. It's going to cost a whole lot more. It's going to cause uncertainty and chaos, and it's going to be really slow. So normally when you come up to, as a community advocate, if I go to any of your parties and say, we want to propose a new piece of legislation, any of you, left, right, center, whatever, you ask two questions. What's it going to cost? This hasn't been costed, and we were told this morning it doesn't cost at least school boards. Well, folks, oh man, it's going to cost. And since we've heard there's no new money for it, we know where that money's going to come from, the classroom. Is that putting student achievement first? Draining underfunded classrooms to fund more red tape and bureaucracy? I don't think so. The second question that any of you would ask, left, right, or center, is, you need a new law? Well, isn't there a law that can do this? So here's the thing. Before Bill 101 came forward as a means to solve a problem that we were told exists, we got a 300-plus page Education Act that gives tons of power to the minister. And then 3 years ago, we got Bill 98, which gave them more power. And then last fall, we got Bill 33 that gave him even more power. There is no indication here that the minister has tried to use, much less exhaust those powers to solve problems, and therefore he's got to come through with this kind of bulldozer legislation. Just take the issue of absenteeism. Where's the proof that the minister tried fixing this for 8 years with all of the powers he's got? I don't see any. Well, I don't see anything, but that's part for me. Okay? But the reality is, like, come on. And the way they go about it is bizarre. So we're going to come up with a rule that requires them to show up. That is a form of public policy. If we translated it to medicine, it would go like this. How are we going to treat somebody with stomach flu? We're going to put duct tape over their mouth and nose. It makes the apparent symptom go away, not comfortably, but it doesn't solve the problem at all. Then the question comes, well, what about students with special education needs? So afterwards, the minister said, oh, we'll exempt them. So what we're going to do is make them ask for their exemptions. Parents with kids with disabilities, we got tons on our plate, much less trying to find out, go through a bureaucracy now to get an exemption from that.
1 minute remaining.
But I'm going to give you one more problem that you got to understand. If you tell kids with disabilities they don't have to meet the mandatory attendance requirement, but the other kids do, you have now gifted a brand new source of bullying. And I thought that was a problem we want to solve. We got tons of recommendations, and I'd love to talk to you in my question and answer about how you fix this.